Welcome to Drop the Shades, the space where we dim the noise, quiet the chaos, and reclaim our inner balance. Welcome to another episode of Drop the Shades. I am your host, Dr. Joseph Elisha. I am very happy to introduce Dr. Lenka Schulze. She is an expert on intuition as our language of the soul, and she's going to tell us all about it today. It's a subject that is really fascinating to me, and I'm very eager to dive right in and learn all about it. Dr. Lenka, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Elisha, for having me.
It's my pleasure. Now, would you tell me what intuition is? What is this thing that we call intuition, and why did you get interested in it?
Intuition, I can answer two different ways. One would be the mystical, which would be, it's the energetic data fueled by mystical consciousness. And then the other one would be, it's our first sense. It's our first sense that we are born with. And it's not the sex like a lot of people think. It is our first. And why I'm saying that is because if we came with the sense, we can sense everything around us before we can develop the other senses. And then that's the last sense it leaves with us. So you can lose mobility, you can lose sight, you can lose hearing, but your intuition will be with you, that the first sense will be with you throughout your whole life, all the way to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And
now, right. What would you say that a newborn has intuition?
100%. Yes. I believe that the intuition is connected to our heart, physical, but also the mystical, the sacred heart. And this is the first thing that is being developed in right, the heart. And the heart now, the scientists say, has a little tiny brain as well. So It makes sense that would be the first place where it would originate.
Sure. Now, you have your career centers on being an intuitionist. And before meeting you, I had never heard of that term before. Educate me about what you do, and I'd like to know how you got started in this field. That's fascinating to me.
Intuologist, it's a word that means that I'm not necessarily like the best intuitive person in the world. That's far from it. There are people who are unbelievably gifted. However, it is a person who is interested in that field, learns and teaches about it.
Okay. And did you have a life experience that kind of helped shape your interest in this field?
You know, if you would ask me that in my 20s, I would look at you like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was woven with me, just like with other people, from the time began. And maybe the reason why I'm so interested in it is because I always been interested in the unseen things, the mysteries, I have this quest for searching the truth. And this particular truth I'm searching is not in a visible realm. And that to me is so much more intriguing, to bring the invisible realm into the mainstream and telling people this is just because you cannot see it, it doesn't mean it's not there. And why do I feel like this is so important? Yes, it saved my body, my life many times. And I had assist others in situations that I didn't even realize that that's what I was doing. And, from the physical, the survival intuition, that there is another levels of intuition. And then there's the intuition that you see things that benefits everyone. You see, it's like, it transcends that whole me, my life and nobody else's, which is very important for our survival. But then when we enhance our evolution into the awareness, we realize we are not the only one here. And I want to use this intuitive sense to better the world around me. And that's kind of where my intuition is, and my joy is to reach out others with this important aspect, especially in health, because nobody knows you better than you know yourself. that there's definitely a beings like doctors and healers that can assist you and guide you with their knowledge, but ultimately it's your knowingness if their knowledge is somehow fitting in your field of resonance.
Right. Now, what I'm hearing you say is there are really two tiers of intuition. One that is self-centered, where I guess from an evolutionary standpoint, it's there to protect you. And I have a very deep interest in neuroscience and parts of our brain that are still live in our caveman years, and they believe that their only job is to protect us from danger, right? And then you also talk about a community-centered sense of intuition that's meant to not only serve you, but serve the tribe, if you will. How does that play out in a real world setting? And the reason I ask this is before I got into this topic and started researching it, my sense of intuition or my understanding of it was, well, you know how sometimes, you're about to get on an elevator and there's a strange person trying to get on with you and something deep inside of you says, maybe wait for the next ride. And so that is there to protect me. How does intuition on a community level manifests itself? How do we see that in the real world?
It's, there's a physical, this instinctive intuition, and then there's that interpersonal, which is like a business deals and family kind of a relations that you can sense other people's thoughts or their intentions, and you can do the business deal or leave that meeting. But then there is that more like the global one where we all won, and that's like different dimensions already. So it's the understanding that what I do here will be ripple effect, and you could see the ripple effect. So for example, if you take it with just our environment, if we do not take a personal care of what we're doing, it will affect our neighborhood and our city and our country and in the world. And so that's just kind of like when you're sitting on the top of that, you see it like, oh gosh, here's the world. How can I make a difference? And it seems like it's not intuition, but it is. It's the awareness, and awareness is nothing more than intuition. And so you can intuit like, okay, here's this organization. Is this organization aligned with the truth of that big picture, or do they have agenda only for a short period of time, or are there some collateral damage that it's not visible?
Right.
Because people only hearing the message, but not always feeling the intentions behind it on other levels. So there's a plenty of them out there. And the same thing. Okay, another idea is with the creams and lotions and shampoos and all the beauty things that's out there. And everybody's selling something that you want, which is the internal youth and all the beauty. But if you look at this, is this true? No. But they saying it's truth. It's their partial truth. So then your intuition comes in. It's like, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of it. Maybe that one ingredient it's right, but the rest of them is not. And your intuition say, no, this is not good for me. You see, so it's like, it's the layers. And people think intuition is only that you can tell the future for someone else. That is not the intuition I'm talking about. That's a cheap trick. I'm talking about intuition of you will be able to see like laser beams, see the intention behind anything or anyone. And the currency in the future is not money. Currency of the future is transparency and integrity. And when you can see through people, see through these institutions or companies, that's who you want to deal with. So again, going back to some kind of product, if they're selling something, they will be so transparent. They'll tell you exactly what is in there. not some miracle concoction that they have a patent on. I'm running away from those products because I can't see clearly what's in it.
Sure.
So this is the intuitive kind of a sense on the more interpersonal level.
Mm-hmm. Now, the very fact that you've chosen this as a career speaks to me of this understanding, I guess, that our sense of intuition, what you call our first sense, is something that can be strengthened, like a muscle, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not something that you're just born with and you get what you get, right? So it's something that can be strengthened and developed over the course of time. And interestingly, from a personal standpoint, I would have to say that between my wife and I, she is a lot more intuitive. And in fact, early on in our relationship, whenever I went out to a business meeting, to pursue some potential business or development, I would always bring her with me because she would be able to gauge this person that I'm contemplating having a relationship with. And right afterwards, she would say yes or no. She would say, you know what? I don't get a sense that this is the right person for you. And that would kill it for me right then and there because I trusted her sense of intuition. But for me, it's something that I've had to work on and I've had to develop. So when someone comes to you and says, Dr. Lenka, I need your help, what is in your toolbox? What kind of techniques do you use to help this person be a better seer, if you will?
I will answer that, but I'm going to go back into your little story because I feel that, yes, the women have more of the intuitive sense, but children, bring your children to your meetings. They'll tell you if they screaming, if they like, I want to get out, you most likely do not want to do business with this, or they don't want to go to that restaurant. Trust them. They just know there's something in that restaurant. It's not good. So children are the truth speakers.
Point. That is really cool. Expand on that a little bit. Is it because, or just why? Why is it that a child is able to connect with that idea or that feeling so much quicker than us? Is it because we're so cluttered with data and narratives in our head?
I would probably say depends again. How old is the child? And this is the thing. What kind of environment they growing up with. So if they are in an environment that supports this kind of a lifestyle, like trusting your feelings versus allowing chaos to rule the house. So their intuition will be skewed into that GPS system, into chaos, you see. But if you're taking a child who had been raised with clarity and again transparency and integrity and all those kind of a high voltage moral worldly characteristics, they will be most likely be guided by that. So again, depends. I could talk about it, infant and toddlers, so on and so forth. But pretty much they are attuned more into that love that they came from. Mm-hmm. And so the love is the vibration of the truth. Okay. So it's kind of goes like that because everything else is just illusion. So if there is something in the air that it's not aligned with the truth, they will feel it. And the more denser the lie or the untruth is, sometimes it's not necessarily lie, it's a deception. Deception is much harder to pinpoint, even for the greatest intuitives. Deception is hard because it's the truth and the lies mixed together, you see. So it's kind of like even on the news, or if you watch in any kind of social media, they have a little bit sprinkle of truth wrapped around in some kind of a lie. And so you cannot say it's a lie and you cannot say it's a truth. It's a deception. And so that kind of creates confusion, and the children don't like that because it doesn't feel good, because they're so pure, they're still so transparent. They're like a clear glass of water. versus the adults are like a little bit more muddy. You see, they more a little bit like tea. Just depends what kind of tea. Could be chamomile or it could be a black tea. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like that. And when you pour in something in that pure water, it immediately gets affected. Versus if you put something in the tea, it takes a little bit longer to register or even being seen, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yes. And then I can answer the question about why you might feel the intuition is harder for you. It's again your upbringing and what your system valued around you. And I also feel that when children are raised in a very loving environment, very supportive, however, also allowing the world of the unseen to be interact with nature. Like don't say, oh, don't touch the rock, don't climb the tree. You see, this is how we sense the world. This is all vibrations and frequencies, and we as a children are pick up those vibration frequencies and we feel them, and we create in memory data in our cellular structure. So this is very important for intuitive senses, because again, we just don't just getting that from some kind of antenna. We have these antennas all over in our hands and our skin. So if you have been born unfortunately in a families that only chasing the intellect and that's the value, these kind of senses will be put aside. So it's again, if you don't use the muscle, you lose the muscle, and you're only going to go with intellect. And it's not like the intuition's not going to be there. It's just going to be more on that survival level versus on that more like that interpersonal, global, the universal levels. And so intuition is often blocked by intellect, because intellect can take you only so far. And after that, intellect cannot grasp the other realms, because it's just like a gate. You cannot go there with intellect. And because the world of the unseen does not operate in the language of intellect.
Yeah. Now, in my line, as my focus is on mental health, and hence the name Drop the Shades, I deal with techniques on dealing with stress, for example. How do you perceive intuition having a role in people dealing with the daily stress of life, daily distractions? Where does intuition come in helping just kind of douse the fires within us?
Intuition works in a calm energy mainly. So intuition does not necessarily thrive when people are stressed. Again, you only go in a spiral down to survival. So the first key to build intuition, to really build some kind of trust, confidence, self-esteem, and awareness. And that again comes with much calmer nervous system. And I feel that if somebody wants to be building that intuitive sense, calming down the nervous system is the first step, with the awareness, of course. The awareness of, yes, my energy is going 100 miles an hour. I need to slow down so I can feel something in the field or in me. I am off my balance. I'm off I'm not in the zone. When you're not in a zone, you're not going to get clear signal. It's kind of like at the radio stations, right? If you want a clear signal, you have to kind of tune yourself in. And you tune yourself in with probably the things that you recommend, like it's a breath or music, calming music, or walking in a park or something that calms your mind.
In your line of work and in your writings, you talk about the spiritual work that kind of works that helps you understand your intuitive self. And you specifically mentioned 6 tenets of spiritual work. I'd like to dive into that. And I guess they start, one of them is faith. How does faith play out in the spiritual work?
It's very important. Faith in something higher than yourselves. but at the same time, it is part of you too. So it's the faith that there is something greater than you, let's call it God, and that God is within you as well. And faith is beyond belief. Belief is something that, yeah, I believe it, but no, you have a faith that's so strong that nobody can beat that out of you. It's literally anchored in you. And when you believe in that and you believe in yourself, that is when you start building also the self-confidence and self-esteem. The steam behind yourself is built with that faith in you. So it kind of, they all go together. But unfortunately, a lot of people are lacking just that. They believe, but if you really shake them hard, do they really have the faith? Because when they hit, the wall, that's when they start kind of wobbly and start questioning, like, oh, I don't know, really, maybe I should ask an expert. And this is when you are asking yourself the important question: what do I really believe? What is in my faith? What's in my faith? Who I believe in? These questions are so elemental, but so important.
And it's not, it doesn't necessarily have to be tied in with a religion, sounds like. I mean, I've always believed that we humans are born with this innate knowledge that there is a higher power, there is a creator out there that has created us. And I guess that's where this faith comes in that you talk about.
Can I say something to that?
Of course.
I'm using the word God because that is majority of people can resonate with that and whatever God that is. But I grew up in a communism where we didn't have a religion.
Sure.
And this is where, for me, it was really profound because as I found the faith, I asked my mom, I was already in the teenage years, and I said, Mom, what do you believe? And you have to think about this. It's like, okay, we didn't have any belief system. It didn't came to, that kind of questions were not asked. And she says, she looked at me, she goes, well, I believe my 2 hands and my salami in it. I'm like, what the heck does this mean, Mom? So it's still etched in my mind because it pretty much, she says, I have a faith in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whatever I can create.
But nothing beyond that.
At that point, she didn't have that, but she was also a very intuitive person. But again, I don't know if the generations before us had even the luxury of tapping into those worlds, because you have to have the time and then the surroundings, and definitely we didn't have that. So it was talking. She was probably speaking very much on some subconscious level.
Yeah. Let's go on to something that I also find lacking in a great majority of the world today, and that's hope. Where does hope fall in?
Hope to me is like the sparkle that we have to keep on, make sure that it never dims. And if anything else, it's always there, sparkling. And I always see it kind of, for me, it's always like in the sky, like sparkle. And then when you look up, it's always there. That means that the light is always shining on us. And that's how I see hope. I see the light is always there. Every day, the sun shows up. And that is my hope, that every day it's a good day as long as we have the sun comes up, the moon shows up, the classic reminders how safe we really are. And we live in a very safe world if we see it that way. But the minute we start tuning into some other directions, we will see what we're looking at. But we can create very much the world that we want to see.
And so that was going to be my next question. How do you immunize that hope against everything that we see in our world today with, the destruction, the obviously the lack of hope, the suffering that we see? Sometimes it's hard to latch on to that, right? And which speaks of another one of the tenets of your work, which is gratitude. What I hear you saying is that gratitude comes into play here because you are looking at the fundamentals of life, sunshine, being awake for another day to be able to experience all that it has to offer. Um, Unpack gratitude for me. How do you express gratitude?
Well, when you were saying, how do we protect hope? Hope is those things that you keep in your heart and you hold on to it. It's like every day there's a hope. There's always somebody worse off than you. Always. There's somebody who has a better life, better body, better everything, and then there's the one who don't. So you have to always look at up to both scenarios. And I always say, when I went to face a difficult situation in my life, I always said to myself, well, somebody did it before me, and so I can do it too. Like, I'm not special. I'm just, if I put myself in average, I can do it. And that's that hope. It's like there is, and if I'm doing something nobody ever did, well, what do I have to lose? So there's always that courage that has to go with that. But hope is something that we have to recognize it and cherishing it, and don't allow anyone to take it away from you, because it's, again, a free choice. You don't even have to talk about it. You can just have this conversation with hope on your own. And how do you stay, well, or gratitude? Gratitude is one of those very high ideals. And we talked about it on my podcast, the level of consciousness with Dr. Hawkins. And, if you look at a gratitude, it's really on top there. And it is immediately bringing you to something to be grateful for. Again, if it's your family member, if it's your healthy body, if it's the house that you have, or friends, or just something you can grow that seed from. But every single one of us can be grateful for something, even if it goes back to the life that we have.
Sure. Now, how does this concept of love and social support come into play in this scheme?
We have not been born to be isolated beings. We don't thrive in isolation. We need other human beings around us. And as we are entering into the AI, we could see how everyone is, living in a different dimension, which is the social media, like, internet and all that. That is a world itself. And we are escaping with our minds into that world, and we're forgetting our physical bodies and what's around us. It's so important we connect with that, because these phones and computers, they can be gone, but the people around us will be there. You're not going to get a hug and lovable kiss from a phone or computer. And this is how we thrive. We need the human touch, because it emanates the frequency and vibration from another human being. And I believe we need that to thrive. Can we exist without it? Yes. Can we thrive? That is a question I don't know I can answer, because if there's some monks in the Himalayas seen by themselves and you ask them if they thrive, and they probably say yes. That's their soul evolution. But for us living in just a normal, quote, quote, normal life, I believe we do need the social aspect to feel included. Everybody wants to be included. Nobody wants to be excluded. And if we exclude ourselves, it's like excluding a drop of water from the ocean. It's going to dry out. It needs the ocean to feel hydrated and feel like part of the whole.
Yeah, it's interesting. There are a lot of studies that support this idea that your social environment also is predictive of how long you live and how healthy you are, and as you advance in age, that it provides a tremendous amount of support to you, not only in terms of mental and emotional support, but you're actually physically healthier too if you have a social network that's tight and that's consistent. How do you see what's the role of prayer in all of this, and how do you define prayer?
A prayer is just the intention. It is, to me, it's a a state of being. It's a mindset. To me, it's, somebody can take a prayer and just go to a place of worship and send the prayer and go home, and that's how they look at it. Some people have the prayer at the moment a little bit more throughout the day, and some people live their life in that mindset of prayer. Every single thought is a prayer. Every
Mhm.
single intention could be a prayer. And that's how I see it. Prayer is this beautiful conversation that you have with something greater than you. And it's a beautiful bridge to bring that world to you.
Right. Now, how about someone who is, how do I put this? Let's say someone who is very religious,
Mhm.
right? And they repeat the same prayers over and over again. I, well, and also I grew up in a family where my dad would recite prayers by heart and from the Old Testament, and oftentimes he didn't even understand the words. And so I would wake up in the morning, listening to him recite these prayers in Hebrew, and I thought to myself, how I even remember thinking of it at that time. How does that prayer translate into life events? If you're praying, if you don't understand what you're reciting, right?
Mhm.
Um, does it take away the intentionality of it, or do you need to fully understand what you're saying?
It's a very good question. It has many answers, and every answer will be correct only on that level of consciousness. Because to fully understand it, you have to be in that level of consciousness. So when you are little and you are around those prayers, they become because the first 7 years you're in a theta brainwaves, right? 7 to 10 years, the Dr. Lipton studies showed. So you are in literally hypnosis. So whatever those prayers were around you, they became part of you. You didn't have to necessarily understand them. That's how they were. What kind of intention, what kind of a consciousness they were told with also played a role. So if they have been done on some kind of subconscious level, they were not as powerful, because first of all, that person who was reciting this didn't fully understand it, but you also have not understand it yet because you were just in a hypnotic kind of state of mind. However, let's just say at this point you are in your 40s or 50s and you're like, okay, I want to take this to another level. I'm going to dissect everything that I learned the first 10 years of my life. And I really want to see what resonates, what doesn't, what does this actually mean? And then you become in complete immersion in that world that you have been hypnotized with. Some of the
Mhm.
things you will delete, and some of it you will embrace, and they become stronger. It's again the neuroplasticity of something and you now understand. So it's that whole left brain, right brain, right? The left brain, it was somewhere there, you didn't understand it was programmed. And the right brain, now it's making this coherence, understanding, like, okay, that prayer means this, and you anchoring it in your heart, and you like, yes, I have a faith in that, I believe in this. And this is
Mhm.
how your faith now becoming much more palatable in your aura. Like you are now stepping into that prayer versus just
Mhm.
reciting it. And thank you for
Sure.
saying this, because as coming here so long ago, and I was experiencing different churches because I was so curious, this is what I found. Like people would be just talking these prayers, like I didn't feel anything from these prayers. There was just no substance in those words. There was no images attached to those words, and so they kind of go like through you, not to you. If that,
Yeah.
if so, I don't know if that answered your question, but once you start consciously understanding the power of those words, power of these mantras,
Hmm.
they become a beautiful, especially
Sure.
especially if that particular belief system is beautiful. Yes.
Sure. I hear you talking about ownership and intentionality behind the prayers.
Mm,
Does
yes.
that sound right?
Mm. That's a beautiful way to say it. Yes, you own it versus it was thrown at you because that's what you were born with. I mean, you were born learning Hebrew this lifetime, and maybe before you were Hindu, and the last time, the previous life you could have been Christian. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those lifetimes you were born into now. And when you get into these 50s and you're giving yourself new rebirth, you can choose if this resonates with you or you want to change it up.
Right. Dr. Lenka, let's talk about a little bit about how a day in your practice. And let's say someone comes to you, let's say I'm a 25, 27-year-old guy. I've had several failed relationships. I just can't seem to find the right person. And I come to you and say, Dr. Lenka, I don't know what's going on. I seem to not attract the right person, and or I'm not, I'm not making the right choices in my life. Where do you start with someone like that?
Oh, I would have a lot more questions than that, because if this particular person come in just with relationships, obviously we have to always start with relationship you have within yourself. You can give something that you don't have. So which means, I want respect, and these particular people not giving me respect. Well, again, because you don't have it within you. So that would be, you see, so everything is mirroring. So we have to start with that. Like if you want something, you need to first give it to yourself. And so I can give you a different answer on that one. Let's just say that all these people going into a bar to look for someone to complete them. There's a disaster right there.
Right.
You're looking for something because you're missing something, versus going into the place and saying, oh my gosh, I have so much to give. I have so much love and respect and compassion. I want to share it with someone who's there to share it with. Who goes to the bar with that idea? Everybody wants something. Nobody goes and tries to give it. And that is number one, I feel, a disaster into relationship. We want something from someone versus looking at like, what can I give you versus what I can get? Because the whole I can get is another dis-ease in our society. We always want to get.
Right.
And 27 years old, this is a beautiful astrology Saturn return. It's definitely shaking up your physical world. And it's very important to understand this is the first passage kind of as in adulthood that you're going through. And it's very natural and normal to go into it and looking in relationships and finding out what resonates, what doesn't resonate, and start questioning these relationships can give us clues of who we are. And before we make serious commitment. And I would be so happy to have these 27-year-old come in and asking these questions, because they can create, these questions can create a beautiful foundation for the future. And if you don't ask them, you are just hoping, hoping that this is going to work.
Yeah. And I've always believed that, unless, and you hit on that, I'm so glad that you hit on that point, is, your relationship with yourself is crucial, and your level of self-awareness is crucial in how you come about the decision of who to choose as a potential mate. And you're right. It's not so much about what they're bringing in to complete you, but what do you bring to the relationship. And I've always felt that people should complement you and not complete you. So I'm a firm believer in that. Now, can you paint me a visual of what a typical patient looks like when they come to you? What do they look like? What are their concerns?
Relationship is one of them. That's, I think, because we learn through relationships. If you are isolated, you are not getting stronger. You are not evolving because there's no stressors to make you stronger. to make you more vital, to make you more resilient. And that also comes to spirituality. Spirituality is not about you being spiritual. That's already been given. I mean, you have spirit within you. You are spiritual. It's about being a better human, bringing those high voltage values down to that physical level of existence, the compassion, the kindness, the love, the respect, the gratitude. These are need to be anchored. So when person comes in, majority of the time, if they are new in that kind of a thought form, they thinking he, she, it's not me, fix them, tell me how to fix them. And I stop right there. No. It's all about you. I cannot help them. I can help only you to help you. And if you help yourself, then you can see if that relationship will resonate. Because once you start working on yourself, you change in your vibration and then your resonance. And if that person doesn't adjust, then you might not going to be with that person in the first place. So it is really the growth of that human aspect of ourselves through spiritual understanding. Because if it's physical, there's a place for the psychology, and it's important part, but a lot of the things could be addressed by the world of the unseen. Again, it's the archetype that we play. The archetypal patterns are so much more non-threatening to people versus labels of mental issues. So if we just understanding what archetypes we playing, we playing the boss, we playing the victim, we playing the princess, we playing the king, And so when we start understanding how, okay, you are king, but you are dating a princess. Are you want a queen or do you want the princess? Because this is going to be a different relationship. So sometimes I play around with that to meet person where they really are. But every single session is very custom made, you could say. And I meet person where they are in that language that they are comfortable with.
Let's say I'm an author who's got a writer's block, or an artist who just can't come up with in whom the spark of creativity seems to have died down a little bit. Can you help with that?
Creativity is really hard to come by because creativity is killed by structure. And so creativity comes from the feminine energy. And we have been killing the feminine energy for 2,000 years. It's if somebody can have, like you see children being so creative, they are in their mind and then they have these imaginary plays and, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I could live that world for a little while. But that's kind of, we have to be like even Jesus says, we have to be more like children. We have to be more playful. And the creativity, for me at least, is in nature. If I am too much in a computer, too much in my books, and I hit that block, because obviously I'm an author as well, I know that I am too much in the male constructive mindset, which comes later when I to organize the chapters. But if I'm writing the chapters, and again, depends what you're writing about, you need to be creative, you have to have a flow. Go outside, immerse yourself with play, go kayaking, go skiing, go for a walk, listen to some music, dance, escape the logic as much as possible. Don't look at any emails, don't look at any of that, and cook recipes from no recipes actually. Just put things in a pot, just be creative. And watch a funny movie, completely restructure your brain. And that's the whole left and right? So you can even do visualization of bringing your eyes left to right when you close them and just bringing those two hemispheres together to create these coherence. Because that is what, at least again, for me, helps me with my creativity. Completely close down everything I'm doing and don't do. And it's so anti-intuitive. Like you think, no, I can't do this. I have to be creative now. Creativity doesn't have a clock. Anytime you have structure, creativity is gone. It's very difficult. And that's why the bridge in between the left and the right and balance comes in play.
Should we stop telling the kids to, should we start telling the kids that they can paint outside of the lines now?
100%. I think that's why so many, like you have children who create dances, like they just kind of go, like one of those, and then you have children who need the step by step. And I have children myself, and it was very interesting to see there's less and less and less places you can take your children. There's no structure. All the dances are structures, or the music is structured, all the art is structured, everything is structured. When we gave the children a piece of paper and just draw? No, the teachers tell them, this is the assignment, and this is what I want you to draw, versus allowing them dance. Why don't we just have children just dance, just whatever comes into your body, just express yourself. We don't have it. And maybe other people in their towns have it. I don't have it. I didn't have it here. I didn't have it in Colorado. I was looking very hard for it. You have to create it yourself. You have to go out with your children and be silly and let them just shake the sillies out.
Sure. Now, I got to come back to this, and as our time is drawing to the end, let's go back to the example, because this is how I connect with the intuition of you. You've left the office at night, you're trying to get onto the elevator, this other person is trying to get onto the elevator, and you get this negative vibe. Can you tell me on a neurochemical level what's happening inside the brain?
Well, it's interesting because that story, honestly, was told to me by my grandma. And we lived on the 8th floor, and she would say exactly that. If you see someone, then don't come to the elevator. So to me, this is not a new information. This has been programmed to me when I was a little girl. So I could not answer necessarily just one way. I have been I have been programmed
for
this
the bias.
situation. Yes, and so I am very sensitive to that. I will recognize it. And then I will put it in my file, and then I will act on it. But if somebody didn't have grandma like mine, you will know it. I mean, it will be screaming. And of course, you can override it. You can override it, and because you have been told, be nice. This is awkward. People are going to think you weird. Those are, again, the other programmings. You see, these are very dangerous because a lot of my clients have been sexually abused because they have been told to be nice. Sit on, I don't know, Uncle John's lap, give a kiss to, cousin over there. And the children didn't want to do it. But they did it because their intuition been already skewed. They didn't know. And so now they don't think that this person in front of the elevator would be anything but nice. So yes, it will be still screaming, and it's up to that person to recognize it. And if they don't, then, see what happens.
What part of the brain is activated? Do you have any ideas on, is it the amygdala? Is it the thalamus? Or, because I would think it's the amygdala because that's our seat of our emotions, right?
Yeah, I will not even try to pretend like I would be the expert in that. I just know how that feels in our body. And I just know this by the studies that have been done by Heart Math Institute, that your heart responds before your brain. And that's what I'm concerned about. Where it actually originates first. And it's 6 seconds before the brain. It's in your heart. So where it happens in the brain, this is not where my studies go. I'm more into where the intuition originates.
Well, Dr. Lenka, this has been fascinating. And you actually hit on something that I would love to have you back on my show for, which is women who have experienced sexual abuse and how you specifically in your practice deal with it. It's obviously a huge, huge problem, not simply because of the Me Too campaign and as it brought it up to awareness, but because so much of it is also unreported. And obviously you have all these associated layers of guilt and shame and lack of trust and everything that kind of like layers of an onion, right? I would love to have you back on my show to talk about that. But Since we're towards the end, I want to know where my audience can find you, your social media, your website, and the books that you've written.
Everything will be found on lenka.org, lenka.org. I also are going to be releasing a mini series in April, which will assist people with the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical levels, so they can kind of tune their bodies and go forward with the intuitive sense. So, we kind of have to tune our physical, mental, emotional body before we can kind of start expanding on the intuitive levels. And let's see, I have two books. One of them is Journey of You, and that is my journey. And the journey of not just the intuition, but overall my struggle with health and how intuition did play the role. And the subtitle is How is the West Meets East, and it's the Western and the Eastern medicine, how they actually bridging. It's not one against the other. And then the other book is The Intuition, Listening to Your Inner Voice. And I believe it's a great book if someone really wants to understand intellectually how the intuition works, and also some great ways of understanding it on the archetypal levels as well.
Got it. Got it. Well, Dr. Lenka, again, thank you so much for your time. I feel like I've learned so much from you, and I would love to have you back just to, maybe talk a little bit about your own journey, as well as, victims of trauma and how you deal with that. And I think that would be a fascinating topic to delve into. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Elisha. I would love to be back. I would be honored to be back. And I think the topics are so important, because I believe that if we are raising very intuitive children, females and males, we would be able to bring the numbers down for sure with the abuse that is happening, for sure.
I would agree. Thank you again.
Thank you.